Welcome to the Retirement Roadmap Show. I'm your host, David Nagy, and today in the studio we have my co-host Tony Shore. Tony, how you doing today?
I am so great, David. I'm doing great only because I'm here with you. I love
Ah,
this time we spend together each week.
me too.
It's really fun. We always have fun before the shows, talking, and it's really great just to hang out with you. But I feel honored to be on your show each week, David. You bring a lot of wisdom for our listeners out there. And today will be no exception. This is a good one you've got lined up for us. But before we get into that, I know you've been a busy guy. What have you been up to lately?
Well, living in Southern California, we get a lot of sunshine, so
Yeah.
we just finished putting solar up on the house,
Oh, nice.
and we're doing a lot of house renovations right now. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it keeps you busy, and those things take time.
Yes.
I know they usually renovations take longer than you think they will, right?
Hmm. And there's dust everywhere, inside, outside.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, my wife's very happy about that every day coming home to dust
I
everywhere.
I bet not. I bet not. Well, hey, it's gonna look you just gotta think ahead. When it's finally done, it'll look
Yes.
so great and you'll be so happy. It'll be a relief to have that done. And I think
Yep.
that's smart when you get a lot of sun, might as well put up the solar panels and help out a bit, right?
Yes.
Financially, that makes sense. So, David, today's topic, we've got a bit of a serious one today,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
it's so important. People often put off serious topics. They put off what to do in case of the loss of a spouse or the passing of a family member. And you're going to touch on navigating some of the financial decisions around that, right?
absolutely. Yeah, so today's topic is about navigating the financial decisions and what happens after you lose a loved one.
Yeah.
And, it's an emotional time. It's challenging financially. I've had a few clients die over the last few years,
Mm,
and, we help them and their families transition the assets over. It's hard to find statements, passwords. It's very challenging for the ones that are left, especially if you haven't prepared them for that. So, for those of you that need help with that, we here at SRS Wealth Management take that very seriously. We want to help. If you had a loved one pass away, call the office 619-460-9433. Come in, get a complimentary consultation. We'll make sure, first of all of your beneficiary information is up to date. You've got a living trust that's up to date. And then if you've had a loved one pass away, we'll help you navigate that because it's not a lot of fun.
no, no. Well, that it definitely is not. And what's so sad about it is you're going through this emotional time and it's stressful for other reasons, but then to have to deal with all of the financial fallout and issues that come along with the loss of a loved one, the death of a spouse,
Yeah,
it's tough, isn't it?
it is. And it's not the time to make financial decisions. I think, one of the things that we counsel people is just take a step back. You know, Grief can really cloud your judgment. So we want to make sure that you're not making financial decisions too quickly. It can really cost people a lot of money, and make sure that we assess the situation, before you make any financial moves.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously, you're probably not thinking the best and going to make the best decisions when you're in the heat of it, right? When
Yep.
it first happens, and like you said, you that can lead to crucial mistakes and costly mistakes. So, what's something else that we should do? I obviously take a step back, right?
Take a step back. Don't make any decisions. You have to really review the overall financial picture. We want to make sure that, we're looking at existing debt, your savings account, any financial obligations you might have. You don't feel pressured to make any immediate changes. You want to make sure that you understand those assets that you inherited. There's different types, right? You've got cash, real estate, financial investments, retirement accounts. Some assets are going to have some tax implications.
Oh yeah.
For example, if you inherit an IRA, you might have required minimum distributions that you have to take. And it's really important that you work with a financial professional to help you navigate through all these different complexities.
Well, yeah, and I know it's going to come up a couple of times in the show today, but taxes is a big, big problem for a lot of people when they have a loved one die, especially a
Yeah.
spouse or a parent, and that person dies. The tax implications of anything they have, their inherited assets like a home or money or investment accounts, like you say, don't make a move without working with a financial professional and a tax professional. I
Yeah.
think that's really, really important. And I know that's what you're helping your clients. When you lose a client, that's what you help their family do. And I think that's really, really important. So, what are some common mistakes people make with this that we should probably avoid?
Well, I think some of the most common mistakes are they get a large sum of money and they impulsively spend on big ticket items,
Right.
um, not considering the tax implications before you start withdrawing funds,
Yeah.
and then really not aligning your financial goals with these new assets. And that's one reason that our clients are so appreciative of the work that we do. We take a very holistic approach, and we have a team of CFPs, we have a team of um, accountants, tax professionals, attorneys. We want to look at the whole picture, sit down, put together a plan before you start spending money willy nilly without really understanding what you're doing and how that's going to impact you.
Yeah. I think that's huge. And so if you're listening out there, call David and his team to get help with this at 619-460-9433. That's 619-460-9433 for that complimentary consultation. If you've recently had a loved one pass or you and your spouse want to prepare for the loss in case one of you should go before the other, I think that's so, so important. Now, um,
Absolutely.
what's the next area we need to look at?
Well, once the dust is settled, we then need to really make sure that we're investing your inheritance very wisely. We want to develop a strategic plan, and it needs to be based on your personal financial goals, your risk tolerance. You want to consider short term versus long term strategies. And then there's key ways to really use that inheritance wisely, like paying off high interest debt, establishing or increasing your emergency funds, right? Maybe investing in retirement accounts, IRAs, Roths, and then obviously diversifying the investments through stocks, bonds, real estate, mutual funds. And, then lastly, really tax efficient investing, understanding tax treatment for the different inherited assets, and then strategies like, again, contributing to Roth IRA, and then definitely making sure that you have your own living trust set up.
Yeah, that's really huge. And setting up trusts, making sure you have plans in place. And this is something I know you talk to your clients about. You work alongside estate planning attorneys there.
Yep.
And that's huge. It's very critical. That's a critical thing to make sure you're doing. Now, what's something else that you need to look at that time?
Well, really setting up your estate, making sure that you're planning for long-term events. Again, like you mentioned, and I tell this to my everyone in my workshops, in my book, when they come in, I can't emphasize how important it is to make sure number one, you have a living trust. Number two, you fund the living trust, and then you review the living trust at least every 5 years. We want to make sure that all your wills are updated, your estate plan reflects the new assets, make sure that all your beneficiaries are correct. Clients come in and we do that 5 year review. You'd be shocked how many times they're like, "Oh yeah, we've got to update our beneficiary information. Our son or daughter had three grandchildren since we've done this. They're not in the trust." Make sure we review existing insurance coverages And how does that affect your retirement planning?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's huge. Obviously,
Yeah,
estate planning and long-term financial planning are critical. And again, update those wills, trusts, powers of attorney, beneficiary designations. In case something happens, you want to make sure those things are always update. But in the event of a loss, the wills, trusts, and estate plans are so critical.
so
Um,
important.
yeah, I know that's really, really important. And, I mean, I saw mistakes made when my grandfather passed and how it could have been done so much better.
Oh, yeah.
You just need to, you don't know what you don't know. Another thing that I would add that we haven't mentioned yet, and, maybe you're mentioning it later in the show, but I thought I'd bring it up now. And that is one thing when my grandfather passed, what they didn't have enough of are death certificates.
Yeah.
You can't just photocopy them,
No.
but you'd be surprised to get things transferred over or close accounts. A lot of those, most of those accounts are going to require you send them an actual copy of the death certificate.
Yep.
So, and a lot of times the funeral home will make those up for us. There's a charge,
Yep.
but I think we needed close to 20.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so a lot of times I think they recommend 10 to 12.
Yep.
Some people only say, "I'll probably need 5." I would say you're gonna need at least 12,
Yeah.
just to have, and
Yep.
you wanna always keep a copy of the death certificate, one
Yeah,
that you
that's good
don't send
advice.
out,
Very good
right?
advice. Yeah,
Wouldn't you think so?
absolutely.
And that's probably something you've seen when you've had clients pass, right? Is
We
make
just had a client in here yesterday, husband passed away, and that's kind of why we're doing this topic today, right?
Yeah.
And they had, we told him get a whole stack, so she brought it in. Now, fortunately, with Schwab, we could photocopy it, so sometimes you can do that,
Yep.
and I didn't have to burn one of those for her.
Yeah,
But
that's nice.
yeah, it's absolutely Tony, right on with that, and you need to have plenty of those ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, back to you talked about earlier about using the inheritance wisely,
Yeah,
pay off debt if you do inherit money, but take your time figuring things out, work with a financial planner. Okay,
absolutely.
so what's another thought? What else should you consider?
I think sometimes it's not a bad idea to do some charitable gifting. It's a great way to honor one of your loved ones through donor advised funds or charitable trusts. And there's some real potential tax advantages of doing this.
Yeah.
And it's why, Tony, you mentioned this several times. It's so important to have a professional help guide you and your family through this. They can really help avoid costly mistakes, maximize opportunities, and really put together a tailored strategy that aligns with your family's desire or your loved one's desire, as well as your long-term and short-term financial security and strategies.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's gonna if you plan for this ahead of time as much as you can, work with
Yeah.
somebody like yourself, sit down, get the family involved, come up with a game plan, it's going to relieve so much stress. You don't wanna leave your loved ones in a bad situation, right?
No. No.
Yeah. I think
Yep.
that's important.
Yeah. So, a few key takeaways, take your time. Don't rush through any financial
Right.
decisions. All too often, people panic and I got to pay this off. I got to pay that off. It might not always be the best thing for you. Understand what implications there are when you inherit these assets. And then, really work with a trusted advisor so that you make sure you're informed, you're educated, and you're empowered to make the right choices and tax efficient choices. So, for those of you that need help out there, you're not sure what to do, contact our office, srswealthmanagement.com. Call us 619-460-9433. Schedule your complimentary consultation. Let us honor your loved ones, help guide you through the process, and make sure we secure your financial future.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is such an important topic, and there's a checklist you should go through. And David, if our listeners want to get that and talk to you about that or have questions, all they have to do, once again, set up that no charge, no obligation consultation. It's so important. Just reach out for the support you need. And David, I know you and your team there would be happy to help. at area
Absolutely.
code 619-460-9433 to schedule that complimentary consultation. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's show. That is really great. So what are we talking about next week?
So next week, we're going to talk about how much do you really need to retire comfortably to
Oh,
make
okay.
sure that you live longer than your assets.
Sure. That's going
Yeah.
to be a good one. Well, David, thanks for all the wisdom today. I appreciate it. And
Well,
listeners, yeah,
thank you, listeners. Thank you, Tony. It's always a pleasure.
yeah, it is. It was a lot of fun today. That does it for today's episode of the Retirement Roadmap Show with David Nagy.